So, I feel like I kind of left you all at Putin Bay, or Put-in Bay, visiting the Perry's Victory Monument. And yeah, after we got done filming with that, we went straight over to Cedar Point, and I kind of just stopped filming from there. So I decided I'm going to pick up from that point and catch you up to speed. Now, the thing is, with Cedar Point and filming, they're not really kosher with that. And, you know, it's a lot of roller coasters, so I wouldn't be bringing my good camera gear on that stuff anyways. Not that they would let me record to begin with. So I took the opportunity to really enjoy my days. This is the second day at Cedar Point. We're going to be leaving tomorrow morning, but my shipmate has some buddies up here, so he ended up scoring us some extra tickets. So we're going to do a couple hours in the park tomorrow before we head over to the next spot, Kings Island. Yeah, I just wanted to mention the campgrounds are really good so far. The RV trip is a success. It's the first segment. The next segment's coming up tomorrow. We may have a couple of days at the Kings Island Park. Yeah. So, I guess for this segment of the video, let's just go over what I did at Cedar Point. Let's do it.
Alrighty, folks, this is the portion of the video where I go over some of my favorite and not so favorite rides at Cedar Point. Not exactly in any particular order, but I'll save my absolute favorites and top 5 roller coasters for the end. So make sure to stick around for that, as well as the cringy outtakes that I managed to take from this part of the trip. So let's start off with the first coaster we rode getting into the park, Magnum XL 200. A marvel of its time, but in recent years this coaster has become more and more rough. You will not leave this coaster without some bruises, so make sure you brace yourselves. 15 or so years ago, this was easily one of my favorites, but lately I think it could really use a retrack and sprucing up. We only rode this 2 times, and frankly that was enough for this trip. After all, we did want to ride everything else. Next up is a fun little classic, Cedar Creek Mine Ride, a very simple yet fun old school mine cart style coaster, and really not much more to say about this one. And here's the portion of the corkscrew, which was pretty much down the entire time. However, we didn't feel like we were missing out on anything with this old school Steely. Now we have another old-timey favorite, and that is Gemini, a dual-track woody racer, which honestly is in great shape for its age and continues to provide fun thrills. And I totally dig the theming for the queue in the loading station. Next is Iron Dragon. Only got to ride this once, which I feel is about all you need. However, there's not too many of these coasters around, so it's usually worth riding at least once. The oldest attraction is this old school horse racer style carousel, which apparently is exceedingly rare and supposedly haunted, so who knew? Next up is Rougarou. Okay, anyways, this coaster is really fun, but this didn't always used to be the case. It actually used to be a stand-up coaster in its previous life when it was called Mantis, and back then I wasn't exactly fond of the coaster. But since they changed the styles of the cars to a sit-down type, honestly, it was a major improvement and totally made this ride way more tolerable, way less painful, and way more fun. Raptor. Even though this ride kept going down and needing maintenance virtually our entire trip, we did manage to squeeze one ride on Raptor, and we ended up getting stuck on it for just a couple of minutes, but it wasn't anything major. Frankly, I think it's one of the better, possibly best suspended steel coasters out there. The only rivals really coming to mind, which don't even exist anymore, are Dueling Dragons from the old school Islands of Adventure era. It's a shame it kept going down. I would have liked a few more goes on this one. Now, before I get to my top 5 favorite Cedar Point coasters, I'd like to mention this once record-breaking giant Top Thrill Dragster. Closed in recent seasons due to major issues, in which actually even caused death. I was fortunate enough to have ridden this a bunch of years ago when I was younger, and it was definitely one major thrill. The only downside is that you had to wait over 2 hours for this ride for a less than 20-second ride. The good news is that it's actually being reimagined, and it's slated to open in 2024, so it looks like we're going to have to come back to Cedar Point then. Now, I'm moving on to my top 5 favorite coasters from Cedar Point, starting with number 5, Valraven. Really, it's just an all-around great coaster. It has that great pause at the top, the first drop, smooth curves and transitions. There's really not a whole lot you can dislike about this coaster. I personally like to play a game called Look, It's Andy, and then act like a Toy Story toy and go limp on the coaster as it takes me in and out of airtime. But that's just me. Anyways, making number 4 on the list is Maverick, which for some people is probably a much lower rank than it deserves, and if it hadn't also been down a lot, had I gotten more rides on it, it probably would have been higher on my list. There's not much to dislike about this ride either. It has a wicked launch, the turns and transitions that just keep you ripped out of your seat. Nothing but intense through and through. However, once I'm off the ride, I don't exactly feel I have anything to take away. Again, if I had more opportunities to ride this, I might be singing a different tune. So for now, it is number 4 on my list. Number 3 may also come to a surprise to some people. However, Gatekeeper for me was probably one of the most technically pleasing coasters Cedar Point has. It's also a great looking coaster, which you get to see soaring through the opening gates at the park. It's so incredibly smooth, and I just get such a great feeling whenever I get off of this attraction. And for these reasons, it's no wonder why it's a top 3 for me. My number 2 may also come to a surprise for people, but it holds a warm place in my heart. Millennium Force was one of the first record-breaking coasters of its time that I ever got to ride. Even though it's not as big and as fast as some other coasters out there, there is something so pleasing about this classic. Its speed, its long, beautiful turns and hills provide a non-stop thrill all the way through the end. By then, you're still going about 70 miles an hour. I remember seeing this bad boy on the Travel Channel when I was younger, dreaming to take on such a marvel. And so for that, it remains my number 2 favorite coaster at Cedar Point. And before we get to my number 1 pick, make sure you drop that elbow of justice on the like button and leaving me a comment down below letting me know what you think about my list and what are some of your favorite coasters here at Cedar Point. It may not come as a big surprise, but Steel Vengeance is easily one of the most intense and thrilling coasters I have ever ridden in my life, which is why it earned the top spot in the list. I remember being actually nervous on that first hill climb, not fully realizing what I was getting myself into. But once you get through that first insane drop, it doesn't exactly get any easier. In fact, it gets even more intense and ejects you harder through every turn. These RMC coasters are becoming amongst my favorite style of coasters out there, and this is a true marvel in itself. I remember seeing the virtual rendition of this and not even knowing which way was up or down at some points. Once you experience it, there's no going back. Even cooler is that the coaster it replaced, Mean Streak, managed to live on with this new coaster, Steel Vengeance, as RMC's specialty are hybrid wood and steel coasters, and they managed to reclaim and reuse portions of the wood from the original Mean Streak coaster that once sat on these grounds. Fortunately, I was able to ride Mean Streak back in the day, and while a great woody coaster of its time, Steel Vengeance taking its place was wholly worth it.
But anyways, I hope this recap was informative, and I hope I got some good shots for you. Some of the awesome coasters that I went on. I mean, really, Steel Vengeance, though, seriously, Steel Vengeance, I got to do it 4 times. And by the 3rd time, it really sunk in at just how incredible of an experience it is, really. I was honestly intimidated by it at first, but it's good. If you ever get a chance to come to Cedar Point, you have got to do Steel Vengeance, or wait, what is it called? Whatever I just called it. I'm telling you, the intensity factor on this is the most I have ever experienced on a roller coaster. So, highly recommend it. And if you do it, be prepared for an insane, I mean an absolutely insane amount of airtime you get from that ride. So, but anyways, that's going to do it. Next time you see me, I'll be in Kings Island. So remember, keep growing your prosperity, wealth, and freedom. And we'll see you on the other side. Ooh, where did I end up? I'm at the bathrooms.
Tonight on Glass Blowing Theater.
Thanks, you too. There you go. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh no. Darren, say hi to Daddy. Say hi to Daddy.
Now, what do we think about one more number?
No, two more.
I think that's
I want
a great
two
idea.
more.
Me too.
Yeah.
See?
Oh shit, this block party's lit, bro. I'm vibing.
Great Scott, Marty, we need to get this to 88 miles an hour. And you know what we should do? We should walk around and check out Magnum in the sunlight.
Yeah.
You're welcome, Botch. You fucking Botch. Haha. Was I recording that whole time? Here on the Hydroconomist Travels, we watch an artist really zone in on his craft. Oh, he got nervous. Oh, yeah. Oh, that's a crudgy shot right there. That right there is the shot. Oh, you're in my shot. Oh God, that is tasty. Ooh, free cotton. Ooh. Oh God, it's a stampede. Oh God. Oh. Come on, go. Why aren't you going anywhere? God. Is this the haunted horse they were talking about? It's mostly clean. So far, old Bootstrap, the land ship, fucking killing it. Yes. Oh, man. I'm so tired. We got 4 hours of driving tomorrow. After a couple hours at Cedar Point. Yeah, we'll see how this goes.